Hey, what do you know? It's Wednesday. Yes, it is. July 2nd? Second day of July. Okay, I hope all of you have made your mortgage payments, made your rent payments. It's the second day of the month. Yeah, it's time to get... Ooh, just lost Facebook. They come back. Every once in a while they go and come. We have good signal. Yeah. Let's do a speed test. I don't think you can see the speed test. But let's see what's... Ooh. There we go. Yeah, maybe it has a little jerky start on the speed test. You know, it's the one thing about these streaming. It's like a wave. You know, yeah, I got enough. Barely enough. Yeah, I need 8, 10 megabits per second. Video bandwidth, the diameter of a pipe. Think of it as a skinny hose as opposed to a fat hose. You know, if you're out in your garden and you got the traditional half-inch hose, well, hopefully you have a small garden. Because if you go past 25 feet, in case you don't know it, before you run out to Home Depot or somewhere, or buy a hose a million you see on TV. A half-inch hose will give you 25 feet of range. If you go past 25 feet, or if you don't have a lot of pressure, you know, you don't have 50 or 60, you know, if you don't have 3 or 4 bar, how about that, bar, remember bar? 14.7 pounds per bar. So 3 bar would be 42 psi. So if you got 40 pounds per square inch coming, you know, on the, you know, right at your nozzle head, you know, your bib, hose bib, where you turn on the water. Well, if you got if you have a half-inch hose, the water will come out. You know, you can spritz it. You know, if you go like full stream, you know, like you're gonna clean off the sidewalk. Yeah, it's not much pressure coming out of there. Now, if you replace that half-inch hose, take it off, roll it up real nicely, put it hanging on a hook in the garage, or a piece of wood hanging up high, because you don't need any more, because you're going to go out and get yourself a 3/4 inch hose with the traditional hose bib on it. And then you screw on the nozzle on the male end of the 3/4 inch hose, 25 feet. The water's gonna come out of there. You're gonna see a spritz like you didn't believe. Most people don't get it. A half-inch hose. Guess we should turn down epidemic just a little. Just like that, yeah. You know, I have to go back and listen to myself because, you know, you want to make sure that it sounds okay, that you're not overmodulating, number one, Mr. Big Mouth. Turn that down a little bit. Yeah, we're going to turn that down to 32 dB. There we go. With the lever all the way up. And excuse me, I just had 2 sneezes. Yeah, 3 apples on the 4-apple tree. Yep. Big news day. The Senate has passed the big, beautiful bill. There you go. There's a couple of B words for you to pop out your speakers. Yeah. Gotta watch out for those P words and those B words, because they can really blast out speakers. Anyway, so the big, beautiful bill has been passed along now because the here we go. Here's the big, beautiful bill. The bill got down to a 50-50 vote in the Senate, and the Senate Majority Leader Thune had to give Vance a call, say, "Hey, baby, get your butt over here and vote in our favor, don't you mind?" He knew it was a possibility, so he was close by. Came by, casted his vote. So the resultant vote was 51-50 in favor of the big, beautiful bill, which basically outlines, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, a financial offset for those receiving Social Security checks. Somewhere, I don't know, they haven't really disclosed what the number is. My guess it's somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000. Now the question is that per taxpayer? And is there a little extra dispensation for someone filing a joint return? So we essentially have one filing but 2 taxpayers? So we'll find out that when they disclose all the details. Anyway, so the House passed the bill by like 3 votes. 221 to 218, maybe that's the 3. So they can there really isn't any tie-making votes in the House of Representatives, because if you move 3 votes over to the other side, now they're ahead. You move one of them back, then the Republicans are ahead. So it goes back and forth. Anyway, so the Speaker of the House seems to think all his members on the Republican side are bound at the hip together to pass the bill. Because as the Senate was making jiggles, then the House will go back to some members that are on the fence. Help them get off the fence. So they're constantly going back and forth, trying to figure out, how we can get it by the Senate, because the House passed a bill. They sent it to the Senate. Now, if they just, read it and said, yeah, this looks good, and put it up for a vote and passed it, it'd be done. And then it would go, you put stamps and seals on it and all this kind of stuff, and then send it over to the president for him to sign. And that'd be the end of it. And then it would be in law. And then as of, the 2000, I guess, let's see, And would that be for the 2025 tax year or the 2026 tax year? Because we don't look at 2025 income events until April 2026. So with the new big beautiful bill in in place, signed into law, which tax year does it apply to? Well, I guess we'll find that out when they come up with the details on the bill when the House passes it. So the Speaker of the House, there he is. Nice collegiate-looking gentleman. So we can, let's go to Flipboard. Oh, let's get out of there. Let's go to the front. Let's go, hit the refresh button there. Your phone, can you see it? You can see it. This is Flipboard. These are the articles that the system has decided I might have interest in reading. And one of the sources is the subjects that I like to read about is food. Why not? How can you not want to? Up here, look at this. Oops. Press that button right there, and then press that button right there. Save that to photos. I just want to show you. Do a little graphic art here. Come on, where's the picture? Okay, I found it in today's. There it is. I'm just gonna brighten this up a little bit. You see this? The sliders up and down. Mic 1, mic 2, mic. This is mic 5, mic 6, mic 7. They got microphones all over the place. Why? Because they can. That's not a very good reason. That's not a reason at all. Come on. What you talking about? Because you can. You can, you can't. Da-da-da-da. All right, we're adjusting the color. We want to get off the blues. Those keys need to be white. There we go. Now we got it right. That's what my soundboard looks like. I got a soundboard right over here, and this goes down. The camera can't quite see. Let me bend it down, and then I'll bend it back up. Can I do that? Oh, here we go. There you go. You can see the tops. See, there's my slider. So I put that slider right there for my background music. And I'm going to turn that there we go. The angle of the dangle is all calculated. There we go. Because we get the clock right over here. It's 9:17. Excuse me a minute. This is tilted a little bit. There we go. I got an iPad back there. Yeah, I do. It's locked in to the exact time within 50 milliseconds. And I got about 30 milliseconds potential lag on the internet, but it syncs up constantly. So we're at 9:18:29. The iPad right behind there. Most people don't. Hold on a second. You didn't want to hear that, so I turn the microphone off while I cleared my nose. Anyway, so we go back here, and anyway, so I had to show you that picture of a soundboard. There we go. Learning how to mix is almost as important as hitting on your original music idea. How to mix. I could be a sound engineer. Absolutely. I've been dealing with microphones and sound before God ate green apples. Pardon me. Oh yeah, I know all about Shure. I got up in that cabinet back there, which you can't see. I got microphones coming out of my gazoozy. I have several. I have a microphone made from for Robert Heel, the Heel Air Transformer, the most amazing speaker that money can buy. Yeah. Unbelievable. It had two 12-inch woofers, woof woof, with 26-pound magnets of rare earth magnet material. Yeah. And magnets are really strong in a speaker, you know, because there's a coil of wire that's spun around, you know, so you know what a paper, the brown paper towel thingy, the cardboard that's in the very middle of a roll of paper towels. And when you run out of paper towels, what are you left with? Is that brown cylinder of cardboard. Well, just take that cardboard now and slice it off about a half inch. Okay? This much of the paper towel thing. So now you have a paper towel with a whole, you know, the brown, this red here, just for illustration. Just happen to have this laying around. Now what you do is you coil the wire in around the middle of there, going all the way around. You turn it. So now you got two wires that are off this this is called a toroid, actually a toroid. So that slips in a metal cylinder like that, and then you got this huge 20-pound rare earth super high flux, they call it, magnet. And this thing can slide in and out with the frequency of the amount of frequency that comes in through the two wires. This red part here is then glued to a paper, you know, a real stiff paper that is all around, you know, a flat piece of paper that's glued literally to the edges of the paper towel thing. One thing I forgot to mention is on this paper towel, you want to stiffen up that cardboard, so you spray it with some real good, you know, glue. You know, even flour and water kind of a glue, you know, like a plaster Paris. You rub it in there, you know, you get the paper towel thing all wetted up with with Elmer's glue, with transparent Elmer's glue. You know, they have white is fine, but use transparent, you know, and get that paper towel, that piece that you cut off, the brown roll that's inside the paper towel, just to give you an idea. So you'd have about a 1.5 inch, 1.25 inch opening. You coil, you know, wire around it. You glue the edge of the paper towel thing on like a piece of paper with a hole in the middle, just big enough to glue it around the edges of this thing. And that's essentially how you make a speaker. Well, Heel had two 12-inch woofers, meaning if you took a tape measure and went across that cone that is glued to this toroidal transformer, essentially, then it'll vibrate with the frequency of the sound that comes in through the two wires, which comes off the speaker terminals of a, like a 300 watt amplifier. Watt? 300 watts. For the left channel, 300 watts for the right channel. It gives you 600 watts. So with a round up, get 1,000 watt amplifier, 500 per channel. And maybe you can make that 330 watts for the left channel, 330 watts for the center channel. It's good to have a center channel, and 300 watts for the right channel. That's the array I had when we were living in Old Floresta, in that magnificent house. We really made it nice, I will say. Yeah. So when you're sitting there watching television, we had the sound under control. Yes, sirree, Bob. I had an equalizer. I had a soundboard so I could control the inputs. Because the inputs go into the amplifier and become outputs. So we want to make sure the inputs are all in the proper balance with the preamplifier, which then brings the signal up to a certain level. Then it goes into the power amplifier, which gives you the 300 watts for the 3 front channels. At the time, I wasn't that interested in rear channels because there was so much sound coming in off the 3 front channels, and all those woofers. Super power, I'm telling you. So I had essentially four 12-inch woofers facing at you, 2 on each side. The speaker weighed like 120 pounds each, in the cabinet, including in the Heel air transformer, because that's what Robert Heel decided to call these speakers that I bought like 20 years ago and had in Old Floresta starting in 1995. 20. Oh, gosh. Really? 30 years ago. Time flies. My God, 30 years ago. Yeah, I guess it was. Yep, I just had my 35th anniversary with Mr. Bill. Mr. Bill, a friend of mine. Yeah, it's like Mr. D, Mr. Bill. Yep. He developed some unbelievable projects in Boca Raton and Delray Beach. Whew. Palmetto Place here in sunny Boca Raton, which is across the street, catty corner. We know what that means, catty corner. It's not directly across the street in front of me, and it's not directly across the street on the side of me. It's like diagonally directly across the diagonal. Catty corner. Palmetto Place. Ooh, 254, I believe, condominiums. Yeah. A nice horseshoe, beautiful rectangular shaped piece of property. It was actually, I sat in on the financing meetings of that project with Bank of New York, Deutsche Bank. Yeah, Deutsche Bank. And they were building it as an apartment building. So they're talking apartments this and apartment that, apartment 101, apartment 305, and apartment 40 this, and the amenity package, meaning the big swimming pool, beautiful shaped swimming pool, marvelous design of everything. Really, I mean, I financed billions of dollars worth of projects in my 30 years in the banking, or 35 years. And Palmetto Place, I have to say, is my absolute favorite apartment or condominium project. Either one. Condominium or apartment, that is strictly a matter of legal. The owner essentially retains ownership if it's an apartment building, and then everyone pays rents into the ownership. Whereas a condominium, each dwelling unit is legally titled to the person that's in, that's occupying the unit. 101. So it's either condominium 101 or it's apartment 101. So anyway, they're developing it as an apartment building. Didn't have a lot of apartments. There was a real, there was a shortage of apartments. So they're going to throw another 255 luxury apartments in the marketplace. That's the way you want to do it. When there's you're on the demand side of needing more apartments in a particular community. We had like 10,000 apartments. They're all filled up, 98, 99% occupied. That's when you want to start a new apartment project. So they're all sitting around this big conference room with probably 12 people sitting at the table. And I'm sitting, towards the end of one of the... I think Richard Forney was with me when we were talking about maybe NCNB Bank, getting involved with that. It was a $75 million construction loan. That was right down my alley. NCNB could do that in a heartbeat. And Bank of New York, they were looking at it. Deutsche Bank. So anyway, in one of these finance meetings, I raised my hand. I said, gentlemen, I know you guys are all hell-bent for election to build an apartment building. I suggest you do the following. Pay $100,000 worth of legal fees and just record condo documents. Just record condo documents on the site. Not now. Get your construction loan as apartment building. Get that all done. Get it appraised as an apartment building. Okay? And then right before you start funding any draws, record the condo docs. Just for the hell of it. It'll cost you about $100,000 in legal fees because you've got 250 potential condominium units, and you got an HOA, right, a homeowner association, so form up all that stuff. So you'll own all the condo units when you finish it, as opposed to having apartment 101, it's condo 101. So you can always you know, you can always revert back to, you know, the single ownership arrangement with an apartment project. But, you know, if you could sell all those units in the end of 18 months, where there's a real demand for condominiums, and this project is so beautiful, it's perfect for a condo. The common area on the 6th level, you know, there's not many projects in around this area where you have an elevated pool, so you're not like, you know, people honking horns and, you know. But if you're up 6 levels and you've got this massive apartment project and it's on the 6th, so you got 7, 8, 9. So if you're on the surface of the pool deck, you look up three levels. It's like a 3-story apartment project. You don't realize there's 6 levels below you because you're got your chaise lounge chair right there on level 6. So if you're in a common area, which is a nice big, I mean, it looks like it's 2 acres of common area. You know, it's not. It's probably an acre. I haven't measured it, but I'll ask Bill one day. He built it. He developed it. Guess what? When it was time to do either one, they picked condos. Now, if you had that all done as an apartment project, and then all of a sudden you look up and you say, oh my God, we could sell condos here. You know, to record all that crap after, you know, you've had $75 million worth of draws on this site. Oh my God. And the condos have to have, you know, superiority over the construction loan. I mean, it's a mess. It's a legal boy. It's more than $100,000 mess. So it's always good. Right money. Record those condo docs before the first draw. Yeah. Because that gives the priority of the condominium. If you elect to go that way, you can always erase it, but you can't play back the clock. And guess what? It wasn't a $100,000 exercise, an insurance policy, so you could go either way. They actually chose to sell condos, and they sold like $85 million worth of condos, and you know, like in 9 months. It took them about a year to close them all up, and they made a nice profit, because that $75 million construction loan, guess what? Bill delivered it several months early and $6 million under budget. Who ever heard of that? So it only funded to like $69 million. Never funded up to $75 million. So when you go, let's just round up to 70. And they sold all the condos for $85 million. That means they made $15 million, you know, in 20 months. Do the math. That's not a bad earnings per month. And, you know, Deutsche Bank, I think, was the ultimate lender. And, you know, the ownership split up 15, 16, $20 million in profits when all the condos are sold out. And if you added up all the value of the units right now, it's probably $200 million. Let's do the math. 200 million. Let's see, how many zeros is that? That's 200 million. Let's divide that by 250. I think it's 254. $787,000 per condo. That's not a bad number. Let's go 750,000 per the average. Some are going to be 500,000, like on level 4, and when you get up above level 6, those are going to be $1 million, $1.2 million, $1.5 million, whatever. Okay, so let's divide that number by 254 equals. I didn't do something right. I didn't clear it probably. 750,000. Oh, you silly boy. $750,000. Yeah, let's do the right thing. Times 256. There we go. 190 million. That's what the sell with the project. If someone bought up all the condos today, you have to pay somewhere around 200 million for the deal. Yep. Not that anyone could do that because there were a lot of multiple unit owners. So someone, this is when it was being built. They decided somewhere 2/3 of the way into the construction of the project, yeah, let's do that condo deal. Jimmy had a great idea. Now it was all their idea by the time. But I rose my hand and said, pay the $100K. It's a good insurance policy, so you can go either way, boys. Why be forced to have an apartment and say, oh, I wish I did the condo docs? Just do the condo docs right from the beginning. If you decide to go single ownership, rental, fine. You don't have to do the condo. You can, do the legal work if you want to make it single ownership. There's an appraisal issue, That's why you file the condo docs right before the first draw, just so you get ahead of the mechanics lien law, because if you file after the first draw, then every mechanic that swung a hammer, nailed a piece of wood, framing material, the concrete pours, all that, would have legal precedence over the condominium owners because they have lien rights that were filed before the condo docs. That's why you record the condo docs right before the first draw. If you file it too early, when the appraiser is doing the appraisal for the overall project to make sure the loan to value is, what they hope for, this way, if you file it right before the first draw, the construction lender is happy. He's already got his appraisal. It's in the files. Then you tell you make an announcement to the construction lender. Hey guys, we're going to file condo docs on here just in case we want to sell condos when we're all done, which would be your takeout. Instead of having some big insurance company buy out the whole building because it's a rental. So if we're going to sell condos, we wouldn't close, to Travelers Insurance Company, for example. We would sell each unit to moms and pops or grandchildren or whoever, trust account babies. But there are a lot of multiple ownerships, when that building was originally built. So, one owner had a unit right up there in the 7th level, one level above the pool deck level. So you can look down on the pool. 7th or 8th levels to me like perfect. I'd prefer 8th level. So you're a couple levels above. Just from the sound abatement. In case you got a lot of shenanigans going on around the pool. Yeah. And then you own 2 more units somewhere else. Maybe across on the other side of the building, in the 7th level, and you're on the 8th level. So you could be over on your side with binoculars looking over the 2 units that you rented out to, gin bag of donuts. And you're over on the other side on the 8th level, owning all 3 units. And a lot of people did that. And there was enough rental income on the other 2 to supplement the cost of living on the unit, the 1 unit that he retained in his personal name, for example. Yeah. There's a lot of multiple units in that. I think you could have 3. I don't think you could have 4. I think there was limitations in the homeowners association or in the agreement between the lenders and the property owner. You can sell 3 units to any single entity, but not 4. So it could be 1, 2, or 3 units. A lot of people took 2 units. Some people took 3 units. That's a home run. That building is a home run. They just did a major, like repainting of the whole exterior and interior areas. Some areas. It cost the average dwelling unit in there like $12,000 assessment. Yeah. And the HOA had a deal where if you couldn't afford the full $12,000, write a check, because that was the assessment, in addition to your normal HOA fees for taxes and insurance, for the common area and maintenance of the common areas. So that's, $1,200 a month. You can sign up for the 1 year deal and pay an extra $1,000 a month for the one big painting and restoration of the exteriors of the beautiful condo project. It's like if you're going to repaint your house. It costs you, cost you $10,000, $12,000 to paint all the common areas, your pool, deck, and this and that, and you got the color on the walls, you got your interior walls inside your common area, and the walls exterior to the whole house all the way around, the cleaning and re-caulking of the windows. That's a $10,000 or $12,000 item if you own a house. Yeah, sure. So you multiply that by 256, that's the bill. Well, they just had that like 3 or 4 years ago. Whack! All the they voted for it, you got to go to the meetings so you know what the hell's going on in those HOAs. You don't want to get surprised. Like, what? What did they vote for? In the next month's bulletin that comes out, they agreed to what? Yeah, well, that's no. You need to be, on the ball, so you can keep track of what the hell's going on. because it can hit you in the wallet. You know, you always have these feuds with the president and the secretary treasurer, and the four leading people that are managing these meetings. And I was on. I did it one time, and yeah, it's okay. I mean, because I can handle it. Some people can't handle it. You get a president in there and he starts getting barraged with Q&A from the people in the crowd. People are sitting in there with signs, you're in trouble. Yeah. They usually carry the signs when you're trying to get the vote for the permits and stuff. That's when the people that live in the communities, start carrying the signs and affecting how the city council people vote on things. It's terrible. It's amazing how, they get these positions and they want to make sure they get reelected. So it's sometimes, a big political mess. So that's when, the people that live in the area right around where you're trying to build a building, major building, they start walking around with signs. It's really very annoying. But it affects, the way these people vote on things. Yes, sir. I won't go into the story of Houston's. What the hell? Houston was interested in a property on the west side of the Intercoastal and the south corner of where Palmetto Park Road crosses the Intercoastal Waterway. And there was a nightclub there, which the property changed ownership, and the property was bulldozed. So it was just a perfect built site where you could build a new building. And it stayed, and then the city bought it because you don't have the timeline perfect here, but anyway, the city ended up owning it. They paid $7 million for this property, and it was all, the building was knocked down. They carried away all the debris. They graded it out flat, right up to the seawall that, came right up to the water. Look at this, we have a call. Let's see if we can take it on that. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
This is Steve at the front desk. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing today?
Very well, thank you. Just a reminder, if we could ask you about the information for the Wheels and Meals.
Ah, yes. Yes.
Can I come and get it, or you could give me the...
I'm still working on it.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll try to have it for you by lunch today.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Okay, Meals on Wheels. I forgot to ask Marilyn. I will ask her. Yeah, okay. All right, we'll finish this up and when we get off this, then I'll get a hold of Marilyn. All right, so I brought up this. This is what the soundboard looks like that I deal with here. I have 6 channels. Here you got mic. This is a big board. This is mic 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This is a 20 channel soundboard. Each one of those channels, you see the knob up on top. This whole line going, whoops, diagonally all the way up and down across there. That's a preamp. That's right there. So each one of these knobs, the red knobs you see, is connected to the volume control. Turn that off. For each microphone. And then they can press the red button or the white button right below there. Whoops. Right there. Where it's either on or you're bypassing it. Yeah. And you slide the volume. And each one of these controls is connected to maybe a microphone that's right below where the bass speaker. So every time the guy hits with the foot pedal, it bangs that big drum. There's a microphone down there picking up that sound, because that's now going to get thrown out over, your community. And then you'd have the microphones for the singers, and you had the microphone for, another part of the drumming set, where they tap on the cymbal. There'd be a microphone up there to pick up that sound. And the 2 tom-tom drums, right up there where the drummer is, you'd have microphones up there for those. And then you have an input for the electric piano, and then you got the input for several. You got the bass guitar, the melody guitar, and the string guitar. So it can add up. You can get to 20 real quick, and usually have a couple left over. Got 5 singers and 5 microphones, so the 5 microphone stands for the 5 singers. It takes up that. 3 of them play guitars, so that's 8. 3 around, the drum set, at least 3. So that's 8, 9, that's 11. So it adds up. It can be 15 or 20. You can see here he's got a special mark on this microphone 5, 6, 7. So on the 7th microphone, look at that. You want to put that black thing on that white slider right where the arrow is. Now, that's not the normal detent, because you can see the normal detent is 1 notch below the arrow. You can see it's a little bolder line, and there's actually a little detent in there. On my soundboard, there's no detent. It's just you line it up with the line. If you go up all the way, like before I start talking, I got Epidemic Sound Instrumental turned up to that. But when I start coming on here, so I'm not competing with the music, I just pull that back right to there. Now I can set it. I've got a button up here which I can depress and add and subtract decibels, so that this alignment of each one of these inputs, is matched against the instrument that you're trying to mix. And that mixes all these audio channels so that it produces stereo sound or three channel sound, usually stereo. and that comes up into your main amplifiers to drive the left and the right hand side of your stage. The speakers that are elevated right above the stage or sitting on the stage. You could have several boxes piled up on top of each other right on the stage. A lot of sound systems have the boxes and an elevated pair of speakers like you see when Trump has one of his rallies. He has elevated speakers because, he's got 20,000 people in the venue, and there are 30,000 people that haven't gotten in the front gate. And they're all cheering and, whatever. Anyway, so that's the soundboard. So let's go to the next topic here. This is what this author decided, this is what Netflix has reported as the top 10. When you tune into a channel on your streaming service or on your cable service, whichever, Netflix makes note of it. They can tell. They can't tell who. They could tell who if they wanted to. But they really don't care who, necessarily. They just want to know in what geographical area are you in, like downtown Boca Raton. How many people are watching the movie or what do you call it, Blind Spot, which is number 8 on the list. And then you got the WWE, Squid Game. We have not watched Squid Game. We watched number 3 on here, Waterfront. The Ultimatum. We have not watched number 5. We have not watched the Dallas Cheerleaders. Animal Kingdom, Blind Spot. Sirens, no. Tires, no. So we've got a few extra. We're actually on, now it takes you a while to get into this, and you have to pay attention carefully so you understand, the British accent speaking, hello. Yeah. They sound like they're all getting ready to sneeze. The program is called The Royals. Royals. Let's see if I can get a little. Royals. Royals. See, now we have all kinds of that's an S there, hot dog. There we go. The Royals. Netflix. So now we're giving watch The Royals on Netflix. We can continue searching the internet by pressing that arrow up there. Let me see if I can get them. I'm trying to give you a good. See, we can do AI. We can put it in AI mode. Let's go to images and just see all the pictures of all these characters. Now, let's add to that Google search the Queen. And press enter again. Let's see who they got for. Not the real Queen Elizabeth. Come on, we're talking about the Royals Queen. I know this is going through. I don't recognize any of these people. So this is royals in world history. Let's put it. 2, 5. I don't know when this production was done. The Royals 2025 TV season. That sounds like. I don't recognize that picture. Anyway, if you're interested in all that royal fol-de-rol, where you got the Queen, this is like behind the scenes. What's going on, inside, Buckingham Palace. It's kind of set up, for that kind of a situation. Yeah. Everything you need to know about the royals. I just can't seem to get the images that look like the people that I'm seeing in this broadcast. And Netflix, the royals, that should be it. Now we're talking. These are the people that I know in the royals. So the king is dying, okay, because he either got stabbed or committed suicide. There's a question about that. I don't think that's been adjudicated exactly in the show yet. I try to pay attention. That's it. Those are the royals. Now you gotta watch 3 episodes. As painful as that might be. But you gotta watch. That's another show to watch. We'll get to that in a minute. Sorry for the going through here. Rats, where's that picture I just made a thing of? Photos. There it is. I gotta keep going back and forth between these two. I have 102,000 photos on this iPad. And that's a lot of photos. So sometimes, it gets a little mixed up when it's trying to find something. And we want to increase the black point. Where's that? This one right here. That deepens it up a little. That looks pretty good. Faces look a little pale. Let's go back down here to vignette. So we'll darken up the corners a little bit, see how that works. Just a little bit. Alright, that's the royals. That's the queen in the middle, whose husband has just been stabbed outside the gate. Sometimes these royals like to go outside the perimeter and just hang around with the people. And the people don't recognize who they are. They dress in regular clothing. They don't have all this fancy clothing. Peel off the fancy jewels and just go out there and mingle with the people. Now these are the, this is the royal family. It goes back thousands of years, 40, 50 generations worth of these people. So if the king dies, this is his firstborn son, then he becomes king. So he is the prince. They attach a little something extra on his title. to indicate that he's the next in line, assuming that the king doesn't have a brother, in which case he'd be, associated with being the king instead of the son. I think what happened is that he did a paternity test, and the son is not a genetic heir to the king. And I think they forged, it hasn't come out yet in the show, but I think they forged the DNA results, the paternity results, to make the offspring of the queen not in the lineage with the king. And that's very important when and this is the brother and the sister of the queen. And they're saying, he wasn't the father. So, these two got thrown out of the castle. So, out! You're not, you're not the princess and the princesses. No. You don't belong here. Anyway, so the Royals, they're like 10 episodes per season. They're 4 seasons. So that's a good thing, because they probably did season 1, and to see the Netflix checks to see, what kind of viewership they received on this particular, there's a lot of stuff on Netflix, right? We watch it all the time, so when something new comes out, we try to be Johnny on the spot to take a peek. So the Royals has been up there. If I sign into Netflix right now, let's do it. I can do it right here on live TV. There we go. And I click on Maryland's, M for Maryland. See, there you go. See the Royals right there? Right, you can't see it. Producers, give it full screen on this, will you? There we go. Remember, this is a Simulcast on 3 social networks. Facebook Live, Twitter Live, and YouTube Live. All 3 social networks are carrying this broadcast every day at about 9:05 a.m. Anyway, here's the Royals.
Remains at large. As of now,
And
plans for the King's Memorial dedication
there's a
remain
parade.
intact.
And
More on this story
breaking
as
news,
details
London.
develop.
So here's, this is actually right now. You won't, you can't see it. Yeah, it blocks it out. Because I'm not allowed to rebroadcast a broadcast.
Change anything.
No, well,
Might fool a few people.
I'll just
but
do
it
it.
won't
Oh, I won't even do a print screen. Okay.
demoralise it. Your
Sorry about
father's
that.
relationship with
I can't do Netflix.
It's not about the pet.
I have to kill it. There we go. Go back to photos. There we go. I don't know, maybe, all right. Let's go back to let's do Netflix again. But we won't click on the channel. So anyway, here you can see, I can't do reverse pinch. So Fubar, we watched a couple of, that was a little goofy. Sniper we watched, going across. Criminal Code, we started watching that. Department Q, we started watching that. Trying to see. There's one called The Lincoln Lawyer. You want to watch that one. It's still got 2 or 3 seasons. Spectacular. The Lincoln Lawyer. He likes to think in his Lincoln. I swear to God, that's how they got the name of it. He has a driver. He sits in the back seat of this Lincoln big land yacht. And he, so when he rides back and forth to the court, he sits in the back of a Lincoln. And sometimes they just go driving so he can think about things without the phones ringing and people coming in the office and all that. Attack on London, we watched that one. The Waterfront. Yes. That's good. I'm just giving you some top searches.
It's 10:15.
The Night Agent, we watched that one. You got to watch that White House Down. I watched that twice. That's a movie. The Night Agent is a series, a couple of season series. That's like, if it's raining on the weekend, which it could be this weekend, you can binge watch Night Agent or Waterfront. Yeah. Or The Royals, for that matter. Land of Bad, we watched that. White House Down, watched that twice. Virgin River, that's a good one. Old Guard, you really want to pay attention to that one. It's, out of this world. Interesting. Designated Survivor, we watched some of that. Outer Banks, we watched all of that. Oops, I can't. I can do that, but I just can't play it. Yeah, that'll get. There we go. Yeah. Extraction, Equalizer is one. Denzel Washington. Yeah. I mean, we got an 85-inch big TV screen, and boy, we use the hell out of it. Yes, sir. I don't know if they charge you by the mile, but let's see. Prison Break, I think we've seen that. Blacklist, we watched a lot of that. Justice, I don't know about that. Some of these ones are, done in a different language. So English is like dubbed in. Sometimes you can notice it. They're getting pretty good at it. When they make these movies or series, they intentionally, you can't, their lips move so much. Or if you do, it's, a long distance shot. So they know how to turn themselves and move around and cover their face or whatever. It's really, they're getting pretty good at this business where it's going to be dubbed into English. Why don't you just, they probably can't speak English very well. That's probably the reason. Silly boy. So then they redo the script and have it translated. Of course, that's all electronic now. Designated Survivor. Let's see. There's Blind Spot. Right there in the middle of your screen, yeah. I'm just looking. This is good. Who is Aaron Carter? We watched that. I don't think there's anything. Amidst sun-drenched Mediterranean vistas, a mother with lethal combat skills must fight to protect her daughter from her hidden past. Yeah, it's really very interesting. We watched that, yeah, big time. You want to watch polo? You can watch polo on Netflix. I've photographed a lot of polo, and these professional polo teams are really quite spectacular to watch. You know, polo is run all over the country. My son-in-law and his wife are now watching polo, live polo on the weekends. You know, because everyone comes out in the summer. Because, you know, when it's winter, they don't run polo. You can't see the white ball on the white snow. Plus, it would be, you know, mistreatment of the horses. They can't run polo in the snow. Anyway, Netflix is quite a tool. We'll get out of that. Get back to. Oh, let's look at the weather map. This is live radar. 15 minutes. It's 5 minutes. This goes up to 10:15, even though it's 10:20. Yeah, we got lightning and we got some. See, the rain's coming. And you see the blue circle? You know what that means? Hillsborough Beach area. Power outages. Yep. Let's see how many are affected. It's not a big outage. There's 6 people affected in that blue circle because of these torrential rains. Lightning could have hit a certain area and knocked out a small transformer that was affecting 5 or 6 houses. We got another. You can see these clouds are coming from the southwest, and there's a lot behind it. You see all that lightning and stuff behind it? Yep. So, if you want to do your weather predictions, you go look southwest. You put Boca Raton up in that corner, and then you can see what's coming from behind it. You can back up further. Some of these radars can't reach out that far on the rain stuff. It's catching up now. So that's the southern tip of Florida here. It's a lot of rain. And if you come up further north, see how it's, here we go. It's got to load all these. There are 20 panels of information that are being combined with this big area of disturbance, this North Atlantic number 1 area of interest. I've never heard of an area of interest before. There's a 40% of this turning into something more serious in the next 7 days. Not particularly now. And that's what all this disturbance is feeding what they've defined as the area of interest here. Yeah. All right, so we'll just collapse that down. get rid of Expedia. We don't need the calculator. We don't need Safari. So anyway, the Royals. Well, when Steve called, I answered it, but it didn't. I couldn't hear him. I don't know if he could hear me. I think he could hear me, but I couldn't hear him. So there's something. I have to figure out how a way to wire the phone to my soundboard. To this yellow. I got 4 inputs. What's over here? Let's see if I got anything plugged in. Hold on, let me stand up. I got available channel number 4. Yeah, we can sneak in a hardwire to the telephone. See if I can do that. I'll connect the phone and see if it recognizes the board. But I can dial out. There, let's experience that. So I'll come over here. Should be, well, let's see if it's connected. It is connected. On my list of, so we're going to go to the phone. Now I'm going to dial 611. And I'm going to there it is.
Welcome to AT&T. Calls are recorded for quality and the purposes stated in our privacy notice. Para español, oprima el ocho.
Press 1.
What can I do for you today?
Speak to an agent.
Without more information, you may reach the wrong agent, increasing your hold time. What is the reason for your call today?
Connectivity.
I used the number you are calling from and found a mobility account. Is that the account you are calling about?
It is.
Hang on while I get your bill. This might take a few moments.
Never mind. I'll call back. Thank you. All right. I was just a little, so I can make calls, but I can't answer them. Something not right. But I can make a call, so why can't I answer the call? And I see, when I make the call, it gives me the choice: speakerphone, phone, or roadcaster. And it's if someone calls me, it goes to roadcaster. It's supposed to. Anyway, technology things. Anyway, the most important thing is this is the full list right now of the channels on Netflix that are receiving the highest viewership. So let's see, there was just something I came across. The Sean Diddy. All right, let's see what the results is of that. It's up to the news, baby. Yeah, updating Diddy Combs not guilty of sex trafficking and racketeering. What was he guilty of? What was he guilty of? So that was like the first charge. Let's see. Sean Diddy was convicted of prostitution-related offenses, but acquitted of the sex trafficking charge, which would have put him in prison for his entire lifetime. So he was convicted of the second, third, fourth, and fifth charges. So count one, racketeering, not guilty. So Combs acquitted of the most serious charge. I mean, if you listened or watched any of that, and in the video evidence that the prosecution played, it's just horrific what these people were doing. You know, and these young women were just trapped into doing it. You could see Combs was dragging them through the hallways. They're trying to get out of there. His one woman, she had her, and they're like in their early 20s, waiting for the elevator, and it just didn't get there in time, and Diddy finds out, and he runs out the door, and he grabs her by the hair, and drags her on the ground, kicking her, and screaming, and oh God. Yeah, that's a happy couple. The jury of 8 men and 4 women acquitted Combs of the racketeering charge. It's very hard, for people to understand how to do that conviction. A lot of lawyers aren't sure exactly how to do that. So it'd probably get appealed, and that's why these, if they can do, if they can make a deal, rather than go to a jury, go to the court with a jury, and if you're, they could throw the book at you and you're in the jail forever. So if you can make a deal with the prosecution, and they always offer a deal before they go to trial, or most times. I'm just looking through this. Okay. All right, you heard it here. Second. I'm looking at the screen over here. And there are people hanging out the Manhattan court. These celebrities think they're bigger than big. Yeah. There you go. I'm over here on this side. Turn my lights down a little bit. It's 10:30. Been on the air exactly an hour and a half. I'm just going through my Flipboard to see if there's anything we need to pick up here real quick while we're yakking. The Congress, the House of Representatives, is now mulling over the big beautiful bill, as it's actually formally named. Trump said, why don't you just call it? It's 942 pages long. Schumer required the Senate to read it out loud to the session, whoever was there. So that took, 18 hours or 20 hours, something like that. And then they went to Votorama. And the Votorama lasted 26 hours. It was the longest Votorama in the history of history. The media is still so against Trump. Poor Trump, he can't catch a break with the media. Yeah. So here's a story from the New York from the Daily Beast. The Senate just passed the president's big, beautiful bill, which will cut $1 trillion from Medicaid to fund huge tax cuts for the rich, which is such baloney, because the tax cuts are going to everyone making $400,000 or less a year. Now, granted, if you're around that $390,000 to $400,000 range a year in taxable earnings, you're BMOC pretty much. You're a big man on campus, whatever campuses you're living there. Yeah, you're a BMOC, as we call it. The cuts in Medicaid funds through the states, and the feds are now requiring, if this bill passes, that unless you have a health reason, which would exempt you from this, and you're receiving benefits from Medicaid, then you need to work at least 20 hours a week. Or you need to be job hunting for 20 hours a week. And, you verify that every week or every 2 weeks. You've got to fill out a report online on what you're doing and what your success and failures have been. Because these are basically unemployed people that are receiving Medicaid, and the state says, whoopee, another potential voter. Medicaid. That ends. No illegal aliens will be getting Medicare or Medicaid. So that's part of that $1 trillion that's getting cut out of Medicaid fundings. Is the fundings, the Medicaid people, reports are being filed by illegal aliens, and they're getting checks. That has to stop. And that's what's stopping. That's the deal there. So, you listen to the liberal press. They say, oh, yeah, they're cutting Medicaid and giving it to the wealthy. No, they're not. Come on. No one believes that crap. American people are getting a little more savvy. All right, what's going on with Elon? He needs to focus on Tesla. Stay out of this whole back and forth with Trump, because he's on the wrong end of, there's lots of things Trump could do, if they keep getting into these sparring matches. He's got a lot of NASA contracts which could be not renewed, and all of a sudden the SpaceX business goes in the toilet. Because you're not launching for the U.S. government under long-term contracts. Where else would you launch? How would you replace that business? It wouldn't be easy to replace. All right. So Diddy's convicted. So he'll be. It's like a 10-year. He's got he's got 4 convictions. The number 1 conviction they didn't get, but they got 2, 3, 4, and 5. So he's convicted of 4 things. And now the judge, I don't know whether it's today, it could be as soon as today, could announce when where he'll serve his prison term, and how long he'll serve. Are they consecutive, or are they, or all the sentences run at the same time rather than consecutively? If it's consecutively, then he's gonna, So if they said, okay, 7 years on the first count, or the second count, and then flipping through here quickly. Oh, here's something that may spur your interest just a tad. Here's another one of those waterfront. That's this is up on the list in the top 10. It's the only particular one that had a picture associated with it. So I went from there to the list. And there's the Royals. Yes. Look at this guy. Count Dracula is he has not been buried in Romania as long believed. He was buried in Naples, Italy. According to a decipher. And it was deciphered because of an inscription that was carved into the tombstone. Suggests that the figure known as Count Dracula may have been buried in a monastery in Naples, Italy. The Count. There he is. That's the full screen of that Bubba.
It's 10:45.
That's how he's supposed to have looked. Yeah, he's a pretty scary guy. Anyway, they've done research on this. And a newly deciphered inscription carved into a tombstone in Naples, Italy suggests that the Count has been buried in a monastery in Naples, Italy, not native Romania, as previously thought. Yep. Trump says Israel has agreed to the necessary conditions to finalize a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza. We haven't heard from the Hamas side of that. The House Republicans are racing for a final vote on Trump's tax bill. Whew. Before the critics start picking apart, and producing a lot of bad results, which might, news things, lies, exaggerations, whatever, to try to swing a couple of votes another way. So they're trying to herd the cats, get these people to vote in the right direction, get this thing done, so they can pack up their stuff and get ready for the 4th of July celebration, wherever they want to do that, if they want to fly home for the 4th, because then things are closed the 5th and the 6th, because that'd be Saturday, Sunday. Get back to work on the 7th. So basically from July 4th Eve, which is the 3rd, instead of the 4th of July. So on the 3rd, everyone is flying out of town. And then they got to fly back by the 7th. Yeah. John Paul's grandfather used to book all the tickets for Congress. All the plane tickets went through his company. How about that for a concession? Mexico has accepted its first Embraer E-190 E2 regional jet. A lot of, not the big long flights, but the 1 hour flights. Like between Miami and Orlando, or Miami and Jacksonville. Speaking of domestic flights, So if Mexicana, is flying you somewhere, probably within Mexico, they've accepted the first of 20 jets from this highly rated company that makes, like 737 jets. They may even make some 757 style jets. 2 big fan jets, one on each wing. Now, can you believe the 747/8? The one gifted by Qatar royal family to the U.S. government, has a lot of upgrades on how these aircraft are maintained. But others that have been distributed around the world are still using 3.5-inch floppy disks to update, their autopilots and their critical navigation updates, which requires, a full handful of these. I know these drives. They're good. I mean, for floppy drives, it's like a small floppy. It's like a 3.5-inch version. Yeah. Whole boxes of these things. When you bought software for your computers, they'd send it out in, 1, 2, or 3 disc sets. When you're uploading software into a jet airplane, like a 747-400, for example, you can see the application. This is volume 1 of 12. This is 1 of 1. I mean, this particular one that's laying on the countertop that was flashed for a picture. 940209. So that's probably, the year that software was written. Anyway, they go into the cockpit and they load these. They probably load this underneath the cockpit. There's a big, data, whole array of servers and so forth, and they probably load the maintenance people, the maintenance engineers. Maintenance in an aircraft is not people necessarily running around with a mop or a vacuum, or a towel wiping off seats. They have, maintenance engineers that go inside underneath the cockpit with captain's permission if he's on board. And they go in underneath where there's all kinds of server equipment and, amplifiers and preamplifiers, navigational computers. And the computers that have to do with, the aviation itself and, the forward and 150 degree forward looking radar and the narrow looking even long range a couple 100 miles in front of them. All those servers have software in it, and this is a Honeywell disk. Yeah, that label is generated by a different enterprise. Here you can see it was stamped in. Officer number 31, stamp that disc in. That's one of one. So, I mean, they have packages of these discs. And they, the maintenance engineers are escorted basically on the plane, and they do their job, and then they get the hell out of there. And I don't know what period of time it takes to load this. 40 minutes, maybe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, well, the Senate bill is in the chamber of the House, and they are now short debates, hopefully. I don't think Speaker Johnson wants to pick apart this bill, but they're going to go through it and see what changed, and see Johnson knows who wants what. So they're going to try to accept the Senate bill as presented, or else the process starts all over again. If they accept the Senate rewrite, should be small jiggles, All right, sports fans. That's what we got going for you today. It's 5 minutes of 11. Exactly. Now it's 4 minutes of 11. So I have a early lunch of fettuccine noodles with a special mushroom gravy sauce. I'm going to toss it in with too. Put it in the microwave for 2 minutes. Give it a stir, then put it in the microwave for another minute. And I'll be ready to eat my lunch probably at 11:30 today. I only had one oatmeal raisin cookie left. So I ought to do matter of fact, when I get off the air here, whoops, I can't do that yet because oops, we got to get back to here because I have to close out first. So you all have a nice day, and it's Wednesday, July 2nd. Everybody should have paid their rent, paid their mortgage payment to, avoid your late fees. Get them paid now. I paid mine yesterday, and Mr. Bill paid his the day before yesterday. He pays one day before I pay on the 1st. I don't think I can pay before then because I pay through Rent Cafe, and they don't fill all the accounts up with the data on what you owe. I mean, I know what I owe, but, if you paid it in advance, then you're going to have a big credit advance ahead of the rent payment. And I guess that would work. I'd rather just pay it when it's due. We have 5 days. You have up to July 5th to pay before you, on the 6th day, you pay a 5% penalty on the rent payment. Well, when you're paying thousands for rent, if you're paying $3,000 for rent, that'd be a $150 penalty because you paid 1 day late, so to speak, the 5th instead of the 6th. I pay on the 1st, just to be absolutely certain there's no discrepancy. All right, sports fans, you all have a good day. See you tomorrow at 9:05 a.m.